Session for the City Council for the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado for August the 17th, 2020. Thank you for joining us. Let the record show that all of our City Council members are in attendance tonight, as is our City Clerk, and we appreciate everybody being here. We've got a great agenda tonight, really talking about and listening to terrific programs in our city and the great things that these organizations plan to do. So first, we're gonna have a City Treasurer's investment update from our City Treasurer, Mr. Miller. And then number two is the 2021 budget request from Local Works, the Wheat Ridge Business District, the Carnation Festival, and Sustainable Wheat Ridge. And all of those, there were information in your packets for all of those events, and there's really a lot of, I looked at it, I said, wow, what a great city and what a great things that we've got going on. So I'm anxious to let everybody hear about those. Our third item is the Homeless Navigator IGA, which it's great to see this program coming online. This issue is, the homeless issue is one that I probably get more comments on. So anyway, we appreciate everybody being here. We've got some great stuff tonight. So let us start with citizen comment. As we always do, we want to hear from our citizens. We don't have anybody in the council chambers tonight, but Ms. Scheck, we may have people on the Zoom function or on the telephone. So would you see if anyone has their hand raised in the Zoom function, and we will bring them on and have them participate with us.
Mayor, I don't see any hands raised at this time. Oh yes, I see one. I'm so sorry.
Okay, if you want to speak, I guess I didn't say, if you want to speak during citizen comment, you have an opportunity for 3 minutes to address any item on the agenda. So raise your hand in the Zoom format, and we will go to the phone after we finish with the raised hand. So go ahead with the Zoom format, Ms. Scheck.
We have Sarah Samplonius.
Okay, Sarah, if you'd like to unmute yourself and give us your name and address, and if you'd give us spell your last name, then you'll have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Sarah Samplonius. And my last name is a tough one. Samplonius. I am the owner of the Clothes Mine consignment store at 4300 Kipling. I am here to speak about Local Works, who helped me out with an adaptability loan in late April. And I just wanted to speak to how that was both financially important, but also emotionally important. I was at a time where the store had been closed, for a couple months. We were just looking at reopening and trying to figure out how to handle this new pandemic. And the loan was offered, in a great format, allowing me to do the things I needed to do to adapt at a time where I was feeling like I just didn't want to spend any money. I felt like I was just losing money for 2 months of closure, and I needed to do things to adapt, but just had that emotional block of, nope, can't spend any money right now, can't spend any money right now. And that adaptability loan just came at the exact right moment to free me up and give me that opportunity to do the things I needed to do and make the changes I needed to make. So I wanted to say I was really appreciative of that.
Oh, thank you very much. It's great to hear that story and a great story of hope. So I hope things are going well for you. Ms. Scheck, any other callers on our Zoom format?
Mayor, I don't see anyone with their hand raised.
Okay. Do we have anyone in the telephone coming in or on another device who would like to speak under citizens comment? Any item on the agenda item? If you'll speak up now, I'll recognize you and get your first name and last name and your address. Okay, one more time. Anyone out there who would like to speak under citizens' right to speak, you may do so now. Okay, well, if we don't have anyone with their hand raised and no one is speaking forward, we'll close that part of our agenda and go to item number 1. This is the City Treasurer Investment Update. And I see we have our City Treasurer, Mr. Chris Miller, with us. Mr. Miller, thank you for joining us, and continue.
Thank you. Thank you, Council, for this opportunity to come and share with you. I've been wanting to give everyone an update for a while. Given the current situation with the global pandemic and COVID-19, things are quite scary out here in the investment world, to say the least. But I wanted to give you all an update on some of the things that I've done along with the city finance team to help mitigate some of those issues and such that we've seen in the financial markets. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a short presentation. Are you able to see that?
I don't see it at this point.
I apologize. Give me a moment.
That's okay.
There it comes.
I think it's coming up now.
Thank you.
There you are. Good.
Okay, so overall, the city has two primary investment portfolios. As of June 2020, our general fund portfolio had 12.1 million, and our 2E bond fund portfolio had $19.1 million. Generally speaking, the city invests its idle cash in investment products. They're local government investment pools, or LGIPs. Currently, we use two different types of LGIPs, CSAFE and CSIP. Minimal investments are generally kept in our bank account, and we try to push as much over into these local government investment pools investments so that we can maximize our investment earnings. Some of the benefits are safety and preservation of our principal. They're all AAA investment grade, so there is minimal risk on the city side. They're highly liquid. If we need to liquidate one of those investments or call it in order to make payroll on Friday, or if we've got a big payment we need to make to one of our 2E bond construction vendors, we can pretty much give them a call, liquidate those investments, and that way those checks can clear for the most part. It's a very great strategy, and it works well, I think, for the city of Wheat Ridge. And the third one is higher yields. If we were to go out and try to, let's say, get a combination of CDs at a bank or invest it ourselves, we probably couldn't do as well as using these products that are provided by the LGIPs. And finally, is it helps us with regulatory compliance. Municipal governments aren't like individuals. As individuals, we can invest in stocks and, let's say, foreign investments or 401ks and such. Those types of investments aren't available for municipalities. There's a stricter type of investment that we can invest in, and we can't go out very far. And that's just to protect our principal and the city and public money. So those are some of the advantages of why we use these products. Next up here is I've got change number one. Since I became city treasurer last year, I was appointed in February 2019. And in a lot of ways, we had, let's say, similar to a checking account. My predecessor did some great things, opened up some new investments for the city, but I found that there were some further opportunities to be had. So the first change that I did was I opened up a core account at CSAFE. What the CSAFE core account is, it allows us to lock in our investments for a little bit longer period of time. We're limited in the amount of redemptions that we can pull out of that, up to 3 per month, and we just can't call, let's say, at 10 o'clock in the morning and say, send us our money by noon if we want to spend it. There's a next day redemption. So that access and ability to kind of pull that money at any given point allows us to get a little bit better return. So the reason why we wanted to do that was to get about 10 to 12 basis points per month over the cash product that we're utilizing at the time. So in some ways, think of it as opening a savings account in addition to your checking account in order to get a little bit better interest rate on your money. Change number two, about a year ago, I briefed the council about a change I wanted to make in order to increase our investment earnings, and that was to open up some accounts with CSIP. CSIP offers a product called a term product, and what that allows us to do is, number one, diversify our portfolio a little bit better. Having all of our investments with just one company, CSAFE, is a little risky. It's not terribly risky. Again, highly rated investment quality investments here, but it's just a little bit better idea whenever possible to diversify a little bit more. So that was the first benefit. They have products called term investments, which allows us to invest our money up to 365 days at different interest rates. Essentially, you say, I'd like to buy an investment for, let's say, $1 million for 6 months. And that interest rate would be locked in over that period of time. And the advantages of that are that as interest rates either fall or rise, hopefully they don't rise too much if you locked in at a certain rate, you can kind of ride out those changes in the interest rates by being locked into this certain investment. So I'm going to show you in just a moment here some of the benefits that has had over the last few months. So better yields is pros of that. The con is we lose liquidity. If we lock something in for 6 months, we just can't call and say, hey, we need to make payroll on Friday. Let's go ahead and take that out. So there's a big element of cash management here. I have to work with the finance team in order to make sure that that cash isn't going to be needed based on their projections and so forth, so that we can actually invest this longer period of time. Next up, I have yield curves. I shared this slide. Next up, we have yield curves. I shared this slide last year when I briefed the City Council about moving some of our investments over to CSIP. The idea here is that, generally speaking, we'd like to see this shape of the yield curve. So the longer the duration of an investment, the higher the investment earnings is. And that makes sense, right? If you're going to lend somebody a loan or give somebody a loan for 1 month versus 6 months, you might want a higher interest rate for the longer they're going to keep that money. So that helps compensate the investor for the loss of their investment for a certain amount of time. This is kind of a textbook yield curve and what we like to see. I like to point out these investment rates here from 2 to 2.8%. And this was back in October 2018, not that long ago, but keep these interest rates in mind. Excuse me. Okay, so what's interesting about the yield curve is that it shows you short-term, lower yield, longer-term, higher yield. And we also have this graph over here on the right is kind of the the delta between the spread actually between the 10-year and the 1-year spread on the Treasury investment. This particular graph is very interesting in that it has predicted the last 7 recessions dating back to the 1970s. And last year, if you recall, for some of the ones of you that were out on the council at the time, is that the yield curve actually inverted last year. Now, I don't think the yield curve could have predicted a global pandemic, but it was at the time indicating that there was some slowing in the economic markets. And even last year's budget, if I recall, the city manager wanted to not be so robust in his budgeting because there were some ideas that perhaps revenues could soften over the year of 2020, let alone us being involved in the global pandemic. And indeed, the U.S. has officially entered a recession as of June 2020. It may have an asterisk next to it, though, however, because this COVID pandemic, it's really been caused by COVID more than it was maybe some of the economic activity, but it is a recession nonetheless. And for that reason, I still advise the city to exercise caution in its plans to move forward and how much it budgets. All right. So next up is this variable versus the term rate investment slide. I wanted to show this to you all because it was kind of indicative of the way that these investments work. And if we go back to November 2019, at that time, I initiated an investment of about $4 million. At the time, it was paying 1.78%. But if you look at that and compare it to what we got at CSAVE, we put about 1.98%. And you might have said to yourself, Chris, why would you buy something at a lower investment rate? Well, at the time, it was before the pandemic was about to hit, and we really thought that interest rates were going down. But we didn't know how much. As we could see, fixed term rate right here, about it at 1.78, and it has remained steady. That's why the slope of this line is flat. It doesn't move at all. It's fixed. But the other line right here represents what interest rates did at CSAVE. And those are just kind of like the daily rates or the market rates on any given basis. They're like a boat at during the tide. As the tide goes out, it just falls. So if you're on this boat, you would slowly fall with the rest. of the other investments at the time. So what's really interesting is we didn't know how much interest rates would fall at the time. But I'm really glad we did make this investment, because after a period of 1, 2, 3 months, the lines have already converged. There wasn't a huge difference here. But at this point, you can see by how much the difference is. And by the time this investment matures, by us locking in that $4 million at 1.78%, the change was about $19,000. So this was definitely a good investment for the city. At the beginning of the pandemic, here's another example. I invested $5 million and I locked it in at 0.8%. Currently, interest rates are about 0.3%. So that's just another example of how this change, these fixed term rate investments have really benefited the city. And I've estimated on the change on that would be about a $3,000 benefit by using the term product versus the variable product. I say estimate because I don't really know how low these investments can go. It seems as if interest rates will continue to fall precipitously, closer to zero. And it's really unprecedented, let's say, for them to be as low as they have been over the last 6 months or so. And it's more likely than likely that they'll continue to be low throughout mid-2021 until perhaps a vaccine is available and markets begin to increase. So these are just two examples. When I added them all together, I have some estimates here what this change has brought in the city. Now, it's not this year, it's since November 2019 to November 2020. These investments have different maturity dates. They have been maturing since about March or so, at least the initial ones that we invested into CSIP. And my estimate is that they've earned the city an additional $64,000 just by making this change. Overall, I think I got pretty lucky on this one. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, I can guarantee you we're not going to be able to match that moving forward. We're just so low, we can't go much lower than this. But that's just some information I wanted to share with you all about some of the great things that I think these changes and investments have done for the city. I hope to continue to find other opportunities. But it's going to be a pretty rough go for, I think, the next 6 to 12 months as far as the city investments go. I would expect us to earn more than 0.2% in 2021. And if we looked again at that old graph when we were seeing interest rates in the 2% range, those are probably unheard of for the near future. So that's it. I just wanted to give everyone a short update on where we're at. If you have any questions, comments, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Great presentation there. Before we go to questions of council, I want to go to the members of the public. If there's anyone who would like to speak on this item number 1, I would.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, study session. So
you're exactly right. I'm sorry. I guess I've got the habits are ingrained. We had our public comments, so thank you. So anyway, I will go to questions from council. Ms. Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't really have any particular questions. I would just like to say that I really appreciate Treasurer Miller looking and trying to, into the crystal ball and trying to see where he felt that these investments were going to land us. And I really appreciate it. And while I understand, like you said, you picked a winning horse this time, it might not happen next time, but I really appreciate you keeping such a detailed eye on our bonds and our investments. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Additional questions, comments? I had one, Mr. Miller. So it sounds like that you're sort of constructing a bond ladder. So as you make investments, you'll have other instruments coming due on their calendars, so you can look and see whether you want to go further out or shorter term, and you would look at your cash needs based upon the other expenditures that we have as a city.
Yes, that is correct. One of the greatest benefits of this is that we can actually target when these investments will mature we've got debt service payments and interest payments. So we try to correlate bond maturities for the investments with those dates in order to meet debt service. So there's also, you try to, like, let's say, have something mature every month. So, like, let's say we have, I don't know, $2 million to invest in. We may not want to invest that for 6 months, but rather maybe pepper that out into $500,000 that's going to mature at 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on and so forth. And that helps with liquidity and cash management for the operational side of the cash management team.
Thank you. Additional questions from council? Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't really have a question. I just want to say thank you for the report and appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? So thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Good report, very clear, and it looks like we're in the right direction. And let's hope you can hit another one next year. So,
Mr. Mayor, looks like Ms. Dozman had her hand
Yeah.
up.
oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Dozeman.
No, you're okay. I just wanted to tell Mr. Miller that it is really good to see your face. And thank you so much for the presentation. I always appreciate how you can explain it in layman's terms. I can follow it. You have visuals. It's always great. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now any more comments from Mr. Miller, and then if not, we'll go to our second item. So anyway, Mr. Miller, thank you for being with us. Please stay on the call if you would like. We're going to agenda item number 2. This is our 2021 budget request from Local Works, Wheat Ridge Business District, the Carnation Festival, and Sustainable Wheat Ridge. And I think first up on the list is Local Works. And let's see, who's going to join us from Local Works?
We have Kate Cook, our executive director, is here. And I don't know if Allie had any introductory remarks, but Kate, as you can see, is at City Hall doing a presentation. So hopefully she
Right. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Cook, for joining us. You've had a great presentation in the packet, so I'm interested to hear your presentation. So continue.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get my presentation started.
And then there you are.
Good. All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Kate Cook. I'm with Local Works here in Wheat Ridge, and this evening I'm here to present our 2021 budget proposal. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on what we've been doing, what the past years look like, and what we're hoping to do in the coming year. As you know, the City of Wheat Ridge and Local Works shares a long history of promoting the Wheat Ridge community as a vibrant and sustainable community. Our events really seek to connect our businesses and residents. We really seek out opportunities to connect our volunteers. We celebrate our businesses through art, through openings, through our Live Local program. We create and implement programs that beautify the community. We engage our volunteers, all with the goal of positioning and promoting Wheat Ridge as a great place to live, work, and play. In 2020, we have a number of highlights, although it's been a bit of a crazy year. We, as you heard from Sarah, we initiated the Adaptability Loan Program early in the COVID-19 pandemic. This grant program allowed 11 businesses to take advantage of resources to help them reach their customers when they were no longer to do face-to-face operations. So we were really happy that we were able to jump in there fairly quickly and be nimble in providing that. We applied for and received a payroll protection loan, which represented an 18% budget savings, covering pretty much our staff costs for that 8 weeks. In all, our 2020 budget represents 26% savings to the city, largely because we were not able to put on the key signature in-person events. But as you'll find out as I keep going here, we were able to shift into virtual types of events with a pretty good participation by the community. We partnered with the city on the 2 rounds of the business stabilization grant, providing review and comment on the applicants. And we are currently administering the business reopening assistance program on behalf of the city. And again, that's a really great program, and I get so many compliments for the city on that program. So it's wonderful to be working with you guys. As I mentioned, we shifted our in-person events to a virtual platforms, a number of them. We started off with our Home on the Ridge campaign, and then we started Wheat Ridge Bingo. We are currently finishing up the Wheat Ridge Scavenger Hunt. Through all of this, we have continued a community coffee break. It's a low-key, fun way to connect with your neighbors and hear what's going on in Wheat Ridge. We've safely managed our in-person events. In light of the pandemic, we canceled the criterium to meet public health orders. We shifted the Movies on the Ridge to a drive-in movie format in partnership with Lutheran Medical. And then we will be deconstructing Ridge Fest to, again, maintain that social distancing. We implemented a couple new programs. We took advantage of sort of being able to shift some resources. We started Chalk of the Town. We are in the midst of creating a new expanded volunteer database, and we're also looking to implement a mobile app that allows for audio tours to celebrate the assets in the community. We have beautified Wheat Ridge with a total at the end of September, a total of 3 cleanup days. And right now we have 9 dumpster grants that have gone out into the community. As I mentioned, we will be doing Ridge Fest Deconstructed. So instead of having a one site, one day event, we will deconstruct that, take it out in the community, and maintain that social distancing and safety. We look to have a community-wide impact in all of our programming. Obviously, our business connections, we focus on those commercial corridors, but really on our outreach efforts, we do look to involve all of the community in all the great things that's happening here in Wheat Ridge. Our 2021 budget proposal is a total of $486,000. You can see the numbers there. The bulk of the programming is going to our core local works programs, and then strategic plan investments, a real focus in the coming year on our commercial corridors, and then of course our signature special events. Just a little bit of information about that budget proposal. The 486 represents a 6% decrease from the approved budget for 2020. As I mentioned, we are realizing a 26% savings on our approved 2020 budget, again, because we weren't able to do a lot of the in-person events. And it's slightly under the approved 2019 budget. 50,000 of the 486 is specifically dedicated to the bubble loan, the Building Up Business Loan Program, leaving 436 for programs. A lot of the cost savings that we've looked at over the past year has been about where we office. So in the coming year, we will be leaving our location over off Kipling and looking to co-office with the Senior Resource Center. We're really excited about that. There's a lot of partnerships and synergies over there, programming that we could increase that really builds those connections with our seniors who are aging in place here in Wheat Ridge. We'll also be looking at increased fundraising and sponsorships for those key events. And through all that we do, our goal is to promote and position Wheat Ridge as a great place to live, work, and play. So launching into core local programs, our Live Local program, this is just the numbers to give you an idea of how that total budget breaks out. And I'll kind of walk you through those programs. Live Local, I'm new to Local Works, although I've been here in Jefferson County for over 20 years. The Live Local program to me is one of the truly special things that Local Works does. It is a program that connects our local businesses with the residents in the community and really provides a unique platform. And truly, Wheat Ridge is about the only community doing a program of this nature. These programs allow the residents to meet and get to know their local business owners. The business owners get a chance to tell their story, how they got into doing what they do, why they do it. They bring that passion to all of these Live Local events. So it's truly, to me, it's one of my favorite programs for Local Works. So I love making those connections with the business community. In 2020, we started tracking our engagements in the community. It's a lot of fun. I'm kidding. But actually, it gave us a lot of really good information. So at the beginning of 2020, we started. So if we're out in the community talking about city programs, what the city does, our businesses, all of that, we started tracking it. And on average, local work staff has about 150 interactions per month. So that truly is a boots on the ground asset. We are out there talking about the community, connecting our community members and connecting with our businesses. We, at the beginning of 2020, we also changed the format of our community open house. It still is an open house format where our volunteers can mix and mingle, but we added a programmatic element, and that really appealed to a broader segment of the community, and they got some really good information. Our first one focused on economic development, and then also on how to provide input via the Wheat Ridge Speaks platform. We will be partnering starting in September with the City of Wheat Ridge on the Wheat Ridge 101 Civics Academy. This is a consolidation of the former the Wheaties Academy and the city's previous Civics Academy. So we're bringing together sort of the best of both worlds. This academy will focus on really diving deep into how cities work, providing the attendees with information about just how the city works, but then the other side, how you can have those conversations in your community, how you can be an effective community member, and how you can talk about some of the tougher issues that we have going on in our community in a respectful and effective manner. In 2021, we will be going forward again with our Mid-Modern Tour. That's one of the best tours that we have that positions and promotes and celebrates the unique architecture here in Wheat Ridge. As I mentioned, we have our community coffee break going on, our Wheat Ridge bingo, and also the scavenger hunt. As we move forward into 2021, we also want to look at starting an urban agriculture tour. I'm not quite exactly sure what that's going to look like, but really we want to start celebrating that unique piece of Wheat Ridge and also celebrate a lot of the industry leading things that are happening here in Wheat Ridge with respect to the urban agriculture movement. A big piece of our core local works programs is our Bubble, the Building Up Business Loan Program, and our Home Improvement Program. So again, we are asking that this program continue. Local Works will match the city's investment in this program. Local Works will also be providing funding towards the Home Improvement Program in 2021. And then we're also looking in 2021 to start planning for how we're going to leverage our large economic asset that's resulted from improving properties and selling some townhomes. So we have an investment account, and we're looking at what can we do for business development here in Wheat Ridge, where we can be a partner in that progress and also create jobs and just continue to bring that vibrancy to the community. As I mentioned, we had our adaptability loan program. 11 businesses benefited from that program. A lot of the names that you know here, and just a lot of really goodwill in the community. And then, oops, let me go back one. And the TLC program, so that is traffic safety, life quality, and crime reduction. Best known for dumpster days, the cleanup days that we offer, where community residents can bring anything that's accumulated in their homes over the course of the year and dump it for free. It's a great program. We also do dumpster grants for neighbors that come together and want to do a really focused cleanup in their neighborhoods. So those programs are highly successful. We'll have 3 cleanup days this year. Like I said, we have 9 dumpster grants out and have applications in process right now. We have a new partnership for these programs this year. We are partnering with the company Bin There, Dump That. And we're super excited about that because they have a real recycling focus, and we're able to really pull in that sustainability aspect of the program. So we're really excited about that change. Let's see. Strategic plan and city priority programs. So in what we do, we really look at the city's adopted strategic plan, how we fit with that programming, and specifically here It's around the HEAL activities, which is healthy eating, active living, and volunteer engagement and communications. Our HEAL activities we started with our Kaiser grant for Activate 38, and we wrapped that program up this year in March, and we had a lot of successes come out of it. First, from a community engagement standpoint, where residents were brought together to talk about the types of improvements that they would like to see that would help them bike, walk, and roll on 38th Avenue more safely. But then we ended up with some actual physical improvements to the corridor that are going to be scalable and transferable across the city. Longer term, the investment to make big changes on 38, as you know, it's a challenging corridor. There's drainage considerations, there's limited right of way, but I'm super excited that we were able to get some small wins in there that make a substantial impact on people's lives. Specifically, we got in 2 pedestrian activated beacons, so we've increased safety in crossing across 38th Avenue. There's 2 speed check signs, so the transportation planner and me will tell you that the speeders in our community tend to be us. So those gentle reminders are out there to remind you, keep your speed in check while you're on 38th Avenue. The city was able to work with RTD to move 2 bus stops, again, getting at safer crossings coming across 38th Avenue. And then we had 2 in-person training classes with our elementary school and also the middle school, really getting at how to help our kids be more safe when they're out walking and biking. And we'll have 2 more events once we're able to meet in person. So again, we're super excited to be able to look at scaling that, transferring that, working with our neighbors, our businesses across the city with those types of improvements. We also do cruiser rides. We did a bike reading program. I think the mayor participated in that one, where we delivered bikes to Wilmer Davis students. So that was a pretty fun project. Under that HEAL umbrella, we usually do fitness in the park. This year we did fitness in the virtual park, and we were able to highlight 3 of our local fitness businesses, Personal Achievement Martial Arts, Feed Your Soul Fitness, and Christine Disney Yoga. So we were able to connect with the community, even though we weren't able to meet in person. And then finally, as I mentioned, we're really looking at 2021 to truly expand this volunteer database. We heard at the beginning of the pandemic, people wanted to be able to help their neighbors. They wanted to reach out, and we're able to step into that area. We have a large volunteer database right now, but expanding that and then taking that database and connecting with our partners throughout the community to really enhance that as an asset in the community. We'll continue to reach out to the community with respect to communications, and using that our postcard to reach not just our English-speaking population, but also our Spanish-speaking residents. So talking about all the great things happening, ways to get involved in the community, and things that are important to the community. Our commercial corridors, the focus here is on banners and lights. Again, really looking at placemaking and identity creation. A real focus this year coming up on business outreach, connection, and promotion, and then marketing, social media, and digital print. In our commercial corridors, our banner program and lighting really allows us to position our corridors as welcoming areas, and so that identity, so that people know that they're in Wheat Ridge, they know what's going on in the community, and just really having that touch point in the community that says, hey, you're in Wheat Ridge and great things are happening, and we're a special place. I mentioned that we had to cancel Criterium. We were able to share resources with our business. This is Pick and Howl at Audacity Lounge's grand opening. This is a new way that we would like to partner with our businesses going forward in 2021. Smaller scale events where you connect the residents with our businesses, and again, providing more opportunities for people to come and stay and connect with our businesses. And then Chalk of the Town. So this has been a great program. Again, it was a new one that came in 2020 in response to the pandemic. 21 businesses have participated in this program. We've had art produced by volunteers, and also 6 professional artists lended their talents to this effort. We've had great social media presence reach on this. Over 20,000 people have interacted with us around this program. We ended up with an interview on TV talking again about those connections, connecting our residents with our businesses and promoting all that's really unique and special about Wheat Ridge. And talking about that social media reach, I'd like to talk about our social media asset. Right now, our social media, our Facebook and our Instagram presence is solid and growing. This year alone, in just 8 months, we are close to 100,000 engagements. That is an asset that we can leverage and use to promote both our community and our businesses and tell the story about what makes Wheat Ridge so unique and special. At the beginning of the year, in light of the pandemic, we increased our posts about our businesses with a focus on telling their story and making those connections. To date, we've had 240 posts and close to a 65,000 person reach in the community. So that's really, when you talk about that social media engagement, that is an incredible asset that Local Works shares with the community and our businesses. Our special events, we're known for Criterium, which of course we had to cancel this year because of the pandemic. And again, we were able to promote the sponsors that we had in place. We were able to share resources with our businesses after that. And in 2021, we are looking forward to having this event. Fingers crossed, everything is going well. Ridge Fest, another signature event that celebrates Wheat Ridge and all that makes Wheat Ridge special and unique. This year, we're going to go ahead and do it in a deconstructed format where we will spread the event across 3 days and multiple businesses and have many opportunities for the community to come together and be together in a safe way and celebrate our community. We have also done, as I mentioned, our Movies in the Park shifted to a drive-in movie format. That was a partnership with Lutheran Medical. It's been very popular, and our last movie is this coming Friday, and it is sold out. So we have been ticketing so that we can manage crowd control and also maintain all of public health requirements. We also do trunk or treat and holiday celebration. Not exactly sure what that's going to look like for this year. If we're not able to do those as in-person events, we have some ideas underway for shifting those to a virtual engagement. And again, just because we're not able to come together in person, we're still celebrating our community and still connecting our businesses and celebrating all that is great here in Wheat Ridge. And with that, I would like to conclude. I really want to emphasize that what Local Works does is focused about investing in the Wheat Ridge community with our loan programs, our community outreach. All that we are doing really exists to connect our businesses and our residents, build community, enhance economic vitality, engage our community members, give them the tools to be effective in their community. And again, I will close with promoting and positioning Wheat Ridge as a great place to live, work, and play. And I can answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Cook. Appreciate you, a great presentation.
Thank you.
We will open this up then to questions from council. Raise your hand and we'll go from there. Ms. Dozeman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have several questions, but I first wanted to address the liquid assets that are listed in the packet, the $1.3 million. Could you maybe touch on that?
Yeah,
maybe.
It's quite an asset. So it's the result of selling, improving properties, and then rolling that funding into that liquid asset. We've had a little bit of change over the last couple of years, and I think we're in a place now where our board, we have a pretty clear vision about what we want to do with that and how we leverage that asset to bring value to the Wheat Ridge community, that we use it to invest in our businesses, to grow the businesses, and then also grow the opportunity to create jobs. Because from a sustainability standpoint, the best thing a community can have are residents who live and work in that community. So we want to be creative, responsible, and also innovative with that. I don't exactly know what it looks like. I know when I interviewed for this job, I talked about business incubators. I think that there's a real unique thing going on here in Wheat Ridge with respect to the manufacturing element, and can we grow that and grow those jobs and really just leverage that asset.
So is there like a concrete plan for those funds, or is that like what you dip into if you don't like receive enough money from the city? Like, can you, that's just a really high amount. And I think this is the first time I've seen it in a packet, like just kind of spelled out.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's kind of from the original purpose of Wheat Ridge 2020 of, fixing and flipping houses and helping out in the economy.
Leveraging it. So we'll be working with professionals to help us develop a plan forward on how best to create that business resource. So again, I'm not 100% sure, like we're just at that beginning process. Does it look like a business incubator? For the best way for it to be used would be to create a partnership where it creates a revenue stream for Local Works. To give it out as a grant right now would fully expend it out and then it would be gone. So the same, we do have a policy of keeping 6 months in our reserves for operations. So we do have that, obviously that's there, but my goal as the director is that that asset would be leveraged both to build business, but then also to create Local Works becoming more independent moving forward. It's time, I get that, and it's sitting there, and I think it's a great time to have that conversation. We have a dynamic, energetic board that is excited about doing some different things. So I don't know exactly what it looks like this minute, but it's definitely something we can bring forward to council as we move forward and keep you in the loop on that.
Thank you. I'll let other council members ask questions. All right.
Thank you.
Take another turn.
Additional questions? Oh, okay. We'll go with Mr. Urban and then I saw Ms. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is regarding the special events line item you had listed and trying to figure out how is that going to coincide with the COVID precautions and best practices and being able to continue to host any kind of event. And specifically as it relates to Ridgefest, will you be doing any kind of beer fest or special event permit, something that would require a special events permit for Ridgefest?
We did have to get a park permit to do some of the events, but no beer sales this year, and limited attendance. And the way it's set up is it can shift to virtual if something is to happen in the next couple weeks. As far as that line item, the way this relationship works with the city is we don't receive a lump sum check on January 1st. It's a reimbursement relationship. So if we don't spend the money because a pandemic happens and we can't have in-person events, then we obviously don't invoice the city for that because we didn't do it. So what we've done this year is try to be really flexible in how we bring the community together and shifting to those virtual events. So on a typical year, we would have about 60 in-person events. That's a combination of our Live Local, community open houses, the signature events. With our shift this year, we'll still have a lot of virtual in-person, close to 60, and with a pretty extensive community reach virtually. So we're still reaching the community in a virtual standpoint, just not in person this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hutchinson?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the first time that I've been involved with this, asking for money from the city. And I understand that these aren't regular times and nobody knows what the future is going to be like. But I'm looking very carefully at the way that the city's money is being spent. And just last month, there were 25 requests from outside agencies requesting money for next year, which is an increase of an additional 4 foundations for that was for this year. So this totaled like $133,800. And so with the request this year for 2021 from Local Works, Wheat Ridge Business District, the Carnation Festival and Sustainable Wheat Ridge, that total is $676,500 added with the request from last month. That's $810,300. So I'm wondering, you're talking Local Works would like to be independent. Are you nonprofit now? And do you ever write for grants to get funding from other places besides the city?
Yeah, we are a 501c3, and we do a lot of sponsorships and partnerships for our special events. We are looking at more fundraising and grant writing coming forward in the coming year. There's a new grant opportunity coming out with the state right now. I just attended a Zoom meeting on that today. It's an enterprise gap. It's really for nonprofits that support business activities here in Colorado. So yeah, we're always looking for those types of grants and support. There are a lot of grants out there around volunteer engagement. And again, because this is a grants, there's always a lag between when you ask and when you receive. If we were successful in getting a grant, then obviously we wouldn't ask for reimbursement of that particular project from the city.
So have you received any grants so far?
So far, the Payroll Protection Program grant is, well, we're going to apply for forgiveness on that, is the only one that we've been successful for this year.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Ms. Hoppy?
Mayor, before I ask my question, I just want to make sure that that it's clear to everyone who's listening in and watching our meeting that this is actually a part of our budget process that we do every year. So when we saw the outside agency requests or recommendations at a last study session, and then we have this study session. So this is, we have, when we are looking at our budget, these particular pieces in the past have been important to council to be able to see independently and to be able to have time to have discussion about them before we go into our larger budget, which is things like streets and snow amounts that we'll be spending on snow removal and things like that. So these are not additional asks onto our budget that we wouldn't normally have. These are all normal parts of our budget, but we are looking at them in more specific detail. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear for everyone who's watching this evening. One question I did want to ask Kate is that I just wanted to clarify is that in years past, the Local Works has received a multitude of different grants and done different projects with the state and the county and the federal government. And so can you maybe just touch on a few of those different grants that you guys have done and how that helps you, how that serves you in your pathway towards grants for the future?
I think one of the best examples is the Activate 38 grant, that Kaiser grant. It was a $300,000 grant over 3 years, really focusing on building community and making physical improvements on a challenging corridor. it brought the conversation down to the community level where we were able to talk about what were the challenges of the corridor, what do we want the corridor to become, and then we could also have a richer discussion about the challenges of that corridor. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of challenges on 38 west of Kipling related to drainage and right-of-way that you can't just say, oh, we're just going to widen it and put in bike lanes and, you know, all of that. So having that grant in place allowed us to have a very robust conversation in the community about what we could do on 38th and how we could be successful. Okay.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Ms. Hutchinson and then Ms. Stozman and Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a question about the outside agencies from like last month. I see there's like 16 foundations there that were given a decrease in the amount of money that they were asking for, and that was derived by a committee. So when different foundations or companies, whatever, just ask for money, I mean, it doesn't mean, in my eye, especially the way the economy is right now, that that's exactly what they should be maybe getting. So, I mean, just last month it was decreased. So, I mean, I just think it's a lot of money. We have no idea what the future is going to be or anything like that. And I would like to just be very cautious on the way we spend money. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stozman?
I just had a follow-up question regarding that Activate 38. Where are we with that, and where's it headed?
So the grant has closed out, and we have physical improvements on the corridor. So we've got the pedestrian activated beacons, the speed check signs, the bus stops have been moved. There's one piece of sidewalk that still, I believe, needs to be installed there at the park. And then what we will be doing is looking for small scale grants to realize those types of improvements throughout the city. So taking the lessons learned from 38th and then taking that message across the city. So as I said, we had the 2 education events with our schools there along the corridor. We'll have 2 more educational events. And then we will pull the people who participated in that process into various committees and ways that they can continue to be active around the issue of mobility here in Wheat Ridge. So we have an active, that's a terrific group. I would like to see the people who got active in Activate 38 become part of that group and really take that mobility conversation citywide.
Thank you. Mr. Miller and then Ms. Nosler-Beck.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to just give you a few comments about your Activate 38 program. I really appreciate the work you're doing west of Kipling on 38. I'm someone who uses public transportation, and I've taken the bus on 38th Avenue all the way to downtown for years. And there are some particularly hard challenges. Thank you for putting in the speed check sign near Cole Strand Elementary School. I've noticed it a couple times when they're driven by for obvious reasons. But thank you for that. That street needs a lot of work with respect to curb, gutters, sidewalks, ADA accessibility, and safe routes to school. So I'd like to, just mention that I think that's some good work that you're doing on 57, and it's desperately needed. One quick question is, Ridgefest deconstructed and socially distant, how are you going to manage that, and what type of events might we see?
Yeah, so it'll be a ticketed event, and people are pretty much getting used to that nowadays. So we're limiting the size, we're maintaining social distancing. Masks will be required as is required. Just really looking to celebrate in a safe, responsible, manageable way. So it's definitely a smaller event. It isn't gonna be anything like a Ridgefest that we've seen before. But at the same time, this has been kind of a hard year on celebrating, and we thought that this is a low-key way that maybe we could still celebrate the community, not in a huge expensive kind of way, but in a smaller, unique, Wheat Ridge kind of way. So definitely ticketed. And those tickets are available now. The schedule is up on our website, and we'll just, be dealing with it that way.
Thank you, Ms. Nosler Beck.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Kate. This is it's really interesting. This is the first time for all of us newbies that we're going through this process. So I appreciate all of this laid out. I wanted to just ask about special events too, and just like as I'm reading this, as we're heading into COVID, I just am wondering if there's a way for us to see like how things could play out if they do all turn into COVID events, like what the actual cost would be. Just like listening to some of the questions that are here, I feel like we understand that if it were a regular year that we were headed into, it would not be this expensive to run these types of events. And, we're doing city council. It's cheaper for the city to run city council, I think, by Zoom conference. And so how, is there a way, because I've never been through the budget process before, to, when we talk about this and keep going on, that we can also see some of the estimates for if the scenario happens that we're pulling these down and they're Zoom conference call events. I know you'll be more creative than that.
Yeah. So I think you can look at our 2020 budget and that 26% under our approved 2020 budget as kind of the impact of not having those in-person events. So by shifting to the virtual events, the Home on the Ridge, Chalk of the Town, Wheat Ridge Bingo, Wheat Ridge Scavenger Hunt, the Community Coffee Break, all of those still take staff people and they still take resources and time. So granted, we don't do those big in-person events, so we were able to save those funds, but there's still that time and staff about those engagements. And so I guess I would use that as kind of the rule, like a general rule of thumb, as far as those big in-person events. The Movies on the Ridge, Trunk or Treat, and Holiday Celebration are pretty small scale community events that aren't really big ticket. So those events, and again, to do sort of a virtual version of them, even if you do the in-person, they're just not that expensive of an event. And what we found last year, we got a lot of sponsorships with our businesses because we changed the sponsorship sort of platform. It's a lot to come to a small business and say, hi, can you give me $1,000 for an event? That's hard for a small business to sort of wrap their head around. So we changed the conversation and said, would you like to partner with another business and sponsor the S'more Station? And we had a lot of businesses take advantage of that. So going forward, really looking at how we do sponsorships for our events, phrasing that in a way that resonates with our local businesses here in Wheat Ridge, so that they're able to take pieces of those events, promote themselves, and then also help us reduce the cost of the event. Does that answer that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also had another question. I mean, I think that provides some clarity. I think everything's changing because of COVID, and just to like what Councilwoman Hutchinson was talking about, like we know that it's going to be different no matter what. But anyway, I might even give you a call later, Kate, and we can talk about it some more. But the other question, or I guess just thing I wanted to mention, is that with that 1.3 million and what you were talking about in terms of, like potential business incubator Local Works has done an incredible job with the loan program. I would really love to see Local Works take a step into the business side of things more and have those revenue streams. And so I realize that's not for this budget, but that sounds like a really great place to go.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And one of the things I left out in talking about that is we've had 19 home improvement loans and 13 bubble loans. So it's a pretty substantial investment in the community altogether. That's close to $1 million right there in resources that have gone out to enhance the vitality of the Wheat Ridge community. So I think that's an exciting place. I think being new to the organization and having Works in our name, to me, is super exciting, because if we can create jobs, that's like the best thing in the world, right? So, and then to be part of that and able to leverage that and bring value to the community, I get very excited about that.
Thank you. I have Mr. Stites, Ms. Dozeman, and Ms. Weaver. So Mr. Stites, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to say, I appreciate what Local Works does in the community. Obviously, personal achievement, martial arts. My business works with you guys quite a bit on several things, including the Deconstructed Ridge Fest here coming up very soon. My question is, looking at the budget, I think it said you have a 6%, it's 6% less than what you asked for last year, I think. Where are some of those reductions coming from? Well, I guess start with that, and then maybe I'll ask a follow-up question.
Okay. So first off, we're moving out of our market rate rent there on Kipling Avenue or Kipling Street. We are looking to co-office with the Senior Resource Center. It's awesome because it's going to be less money, so from a budget standpoint, that's pretty exciting. But I think what's more exciting is being able to partner with the Senior Resource Center to bring additional programming. We're super excited about being able to start offering programming, partnering with Senior Resource Center to offer programming around arts and community engagement in the old firehouse. So, we just went through the Art Space project, and, out of that came these terrific relationships around art in Wheat Ridge and how that is unique to Wheat Ridge and what it can mean. And I think the old firehouse would be an amazing asset to be able to start programming. And then that creates a revenue stream for both possibly Local Works and the Senior Resource Center. We've done a lot around operational cost savings. So a lot of trimming of things, streamlining operations. Malachi, who was our operations manager, he was able to, not because of anything we did, he found a job closer to home. As you know, he has a 1-year-old child, so now he's closer to home and doesn't have to commute all the way across the metro area from Aurora. So we're not replacing that position. Instead, we'll do pretty much a contract bookkeeping, just to keep our books in line. So just a lot of cost savings around operations and looking to really be responsible with the funding that we have.
Okay. And so if say, as we move into 2021, Ridge Fest or Criterium, if that stuff is canceled or it goes virtually, the money that we're putting into the budget for that event is only reimbursed if you actually spend that money for that event, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how I ask this, like realistically though, right? Like, so an event that's virtual should not cost the same amount as an event that's in person, right? So,
no.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of use that 26%, probably if you're looking at that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Dozeman, and then Ms. Weaver.
Thank you. So you kind of touched on a couple of my questions by answering Mr. Stites. So it sounds like you have reduced staff, and I was going to ask about cost savings as far as like not having in-person events due to COVID, because I'm quite honestly really concerned at how much money we're considering giving right at this point in time, just because we don't have a solid projection for next year and whether or not we're actually going to be able to be having large events. I really like the idea of having the events at the businesses and the chalk of the town. That was pretty cool to see. And I'm not sure whether are you trying to go more digital with your marketing, or are you still sending out postcards? Because I just haven't seen as much of the print materials this year. So those are a couple of my other questions. And then are you also planning on continuing to have like shift events to Lutheran and have them there? And can you maybe touch on why that decision was made? I don't know if the park isn't big enough or what was the reasoning behind that decision.
I hope I have them all. On the first one on the postcard. So no, we sent out the first postcard when we still, before COVID. We have not done the postcard only because things have been changing so quickly. We have been relying on digital platforms to get that information out, and also our newsletters. So, and we have a lot of reach in the community. Like I've mentioned, close to 100,000, that's a substantial reach. And then a very high, I don't know how far you guys go into keeping track of your social media platforms, but we have an incredibly high open rate, like up over close to 25% on our newsletter, which if you track that stuff, you get pretty excited about that. So I think for the people who are engaging on that platform, that's great. It is concerning because how do we reach the people who aren't on those platforms? I think we struggle with that always. So that's where we've really increased our paper outreach at the TLC cleanup events, and then also at the movies on the Ridge. So really using those in-person events to get information out about what's going on in the community. At this upcoming movie, we will have census signs available for people to take home that they can put in their yards to tell their neighbors, please complete the census, get your information in. So that was on the postcard. Remind me, you had another.
Yeah, so I had asked about like cost savings from not having the events that were canceled this year, and also moving the events, or the decision.
To Lutheran.
To Lutheran, yeah.
The Lutheran. So Trunk or Treat for in-person events is about the only one that has shifted to Lutheran, and that was largely because it is a car-based event. You know, people decorate their trunks, and the green was limited in how many cars we could get with the kids. And the Lutheran campus worked really well for Trunk or Treat because there was enough room to spread out. We could have food trucks and all of that. For the movies on the Ridge, shifting that to a drive-in movie, those, had they been in person, they would have been on the green. But the school district isn't having any events on school property, so we couldn't do that. So the shift was, and the biggest parking lot we could find was Lutheran. So yeah, that's for this period of time, that's been an excellent resource. Going forward, if we come back to, you know, hopefully having in-person events and all of that, Trunk or Treat would be probably the only one staying at Lutheran. And again, based on it's a car event. Although we have had some talks about, is there a way that we could put that on 38 and work with the businesses? But that's got a little more complexity with it because kids loose on the street, it creates a lot of logistics. That's why the parking lot's nice, because then you don't have to worry about any of the kids kind of squirting out of the area. And did I answer all your questions?
Just that last one about like cost savings, if you guys have project that out yet.
Yeah, well, like I said, so for this budget year, we're looking at 26% that we won't bill the city for. So bringing us in at about 380, just over 380. So again, the cost savings of the events, we also make money off of those events. So that sort of changes our relationship from, you know, obviously we don't invoice the city for beer sales. We keep the money from beer sales. So we've lost those revenue streams this year. So there's, you know, that relationship. So I think overall the cost savings to the city has been by not having the in-person events.
Thank you. Let's see, Ms. Weaver and then Ms. Hobby.
Thank
you. Kate, thank you so much for the presentation. I just wanted to say that I actually have felt more presence by Local Works, I think, this year than I have in past years because of the disaggregated sort of actions that you've been doing. And I just think they've been great. I'm also a big follower on social media, and I think it's been a neat presence that you've put out there. And I just wanted to thank you for all of the diverse programs, because while it has been tough, I think, for everybody this year, I think Local Works presence has really continued to be very vibrant. And I just wanted to make the comment, I think we perceive sometimes that things cost less because we're sitting here on Zoom, but I don't think that's actually the case when there's still infrastructure and people's salaries being paid and all of this. So I think we need to be careful when we make an assumption like things cost less simply because we're in an environment. I think when we disaggregate things, they can often be more expensive, and especially with all of at least this is what I'm finding with my business, is that with all of the extra measures that are having to be taken, I think the cost savings might be something to be looked at. I'm not sure that we're going to look at COVID as this huge saving opportunity. But thank you, Kate, and I really appreciate what you've been doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kate, you had said that your ask is 6% less than what was approved in the 2020 budget, correct? So then, do you remember what the ask was for the 2020 budget? Because I know that what was approved was less. I feel like it was. I feel like it was 5% less.
Yeah, the ultimate number that you approved, and I watched the council meeting from last year too, so I understand that process, was the 515,025 is what the consensus after the presentation and your discussion. That includes the 50,000 for the bubble. So you subtract that off. And I'd like to note that we did not invoice, for lack of a better term, the city for the adaptability loan program. That came from the investment account. A decision made by the Local Works Board that money is there to benefit the community, and we needed to get that money out and not turn around to the city and say, oh, now pay us back for that. So we recognize that we do have an asset and that we have a responsibility to use that to benefit the community. So 515 was the number, including the 50 for the bubble.
And the ask was approximately 5% more than what was approved last year?
Yeah, the ask
so
was.
you're about 11%. Your ask is 11% less than last year's ask.
Yeah, we're trying to be very responsible and looking for a lot of cost savings.
And so we've been, oh, sorry, go Rachel.
Okay,
sorry, go Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Ms. Hulteen, if you're done, Ms. Hoppy, we'll go to Ms. Hulteen is next. Ms. Hulteen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my dogs are activated behind me, so I have something to say too. My apologies. First of all, Kate, I just really want to thank you. I'm very aware of for a small staff, Local Works touches a lot of people in our community and on a pretty regular basis. And I think that's impressive and much needed. That's how community building happens. A couple things I just want to call out. I appreciate how nimble and adaptive you've been as the circumstances in our city have changed. And I think you've really demonstrated that is a good stewardship of the city's money, is that you've taken the intent of that, and as the circumstances changed, you looked at the community, saw where we were, saw what the needs were, and that you led with that. And I think that's just impressive, and I think it's a demonstration of why Local Works is an important partner for our city, because I think we did a pretty good job a lot of the times too, but we're not as nimble and focused. So thank you for that. I do have a couple of questions. One is, so a specific question, can you help me understand the differences in your proposed budget between like 2B, where it says volunteer engagement and communications versus the marketing, social media, digital, and print. Just trying to understand what is the difference in communication between those two strategies.
Right. So on the marketing, social media, digital print really is more of the hard costs associated with those outreach efforts. It includes some staff time, but not as much as you need when you do volunteer engagement. Volunteer engagement, it truly, it's time on the phone, it's time on social media, answering questions. It's when we can, face-to-face meeting, talking about ways to get involved in the community, and it's time intensive. So that's how I broke those out when I put this budget together, is to really start recognizing where the staff is spending their time versus more of those hard cost items. So like on your banners and lights, that's a pretty hard cost. There's not a lot of staff time involved in something like that. But building a volunteer database and expanding that beyond what we have right now, that's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of follow-up, a lot of community, a lot of conversations in the community. And when you have those conversations, it's not enough just to say, hey, why don't you come volunteer? It's like you have to really meet that person where they are, talk to them about their interests, and then you have to be thinking about all those other ways that you could keep that person excited about participating in their community. Because not everybody is like me, where they're going to get excited about a speed checker light. You know, because the transportation planner in me says, yay, you got that. Not everybody's going to do that. Somebody else might be much more excited about connecting with their senior neighbor and helping them out on a more, you know, one-to-one basis. Not that I don't like seniors, but I'm just using that one as an example. So that's kind of where you start getting that breakout between hard cost and more staff costs.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of more questions. You just referenced the volunteer database, and I think one of the things Local Works historically has done well is leverage our community. So, you know, you're a mighty staff of 4 or 5 people, but it's really your volunteers who really have the reach and the impact in our city. So I think that's exciting. Can you speak a little bit more about what you see that volunteer database doing? Would you be making that available to support other community partners, or is it really just to support Local Works in the city directly?
So my goal is that it starts to reach beyond just Local Works in just the city, that we start connecting with Senior Resource Center, Family Tree, the Action Center. There are so many ways that people want to connect in their community. And I think we need to be really creative in setting that up. One of the cool things is we have a really great CRM that sets us up already to get that asset out there and mobilized quickly. So for us, it's a matter of starting to connect those dots and know who those partners in the community are. And again, and it's those fine-grained conversations, figuring out where that person fits and where they can connect best, and then building those relationships. Like we have a really strong partnership right now with Senior Resource Center, but really enhancing that relationship that we have with Family Tree, and really just leveraging all of that energy in the community.
Okay, and then I have one more question. It's a little bit higher level, but I think it's important. So not only are we in the throes of a pandemic, but from a strategic planning standpoint, you know, the council wasn't able to have their retreat this year. We're, you know, trying to figure out how to, you know, implement the recently adopted NRS. And I'm just curious, I you know, as you know, I have a long history with Local Works, and I like strategic plans. And on your website, your strategic plan goes through 2019. And I'm just curious if you can provide a little bit more guidance. I mean, I like that you're carrying forward, and I like that you've pivoted, but I think what I would like to better understand is, you know, where is Local Works going in the next couple of years? And because you've dropped a couple of interesting things in the conversation tonight around ideas that you and the board and the staff are considering. And I think they're really valuable. So I think, could you just speak to where you are in that strategic plan? Because I'm seeing a little bit of a gap between like what we're talking about tonight and sort of some of the directions that both the city and the organization is thinking about.
We actually, we did go ahead and do a strategic planning session. So we have a broad vision, and it's my job now to write the specifics in how we get forward on that 3-year plan. So that is the next step for me, is to put all of those pieces. I have broad guidance from my board, which falls under the category of, we have these amazing assets and we need to bring value to the community and bring value to our business community, and how can we best do that? So there's a lot of ideas, and now my job is to put that all into a single document. So you will see a new strategic plan coming out in hopefully the next couple weeks. So that,
oh, I was gonna say that sounds great, and it looks like Patrick's got something to add. But it would be helpful as we're looking at this and how it plugs into our bigger budget to have that a little bit better articulated, I think would help. So I look forward to seeing that when it comes out. Great, thanks, Kate.
Thank you. I had Ms. Hoppy and then Mr. Goff.
Mayor, I'm going to ask for consensus to move forward. We have 4, 5 other items on our agenda this evening. So I'm going to ask for consensus to move forward with our 2021 budget request for local works for $486,000.
Do we have consensus on that? Looks like we don't have consensus on that. Mr. Goff.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to add on to Kate's comments about the strategic planning and Ms. Holtein's question. Kate and I had spoke about this months ago, and the intent was that local works was going to wait until the city council had their strategic plan done, so that they made sure that when they met and did their strategic planning, that they were following along with the vision and guidelines of what the city was planning. But as you know, we postponed ours, and so they went ahead and met, and but we are scheduled for February. Hopefully we might be able to do that still, and hopefully we can provide more direction to local works on what the city's plans are for the next couple of years.
So, and if I could just connect with that. So our strategic planning session, the overarching was, of course, we're going to align with the city's strategic planning efforts. So that was like the given. The bigger conversation for local works was, what are we doing and what are we going to be doing, and how can we grow as an organization, bring value to the community, and move into that space of continuing to bring even more value.
Thank you. Before I go to Mr. Urban, who will be next, I wanted to put in a couple of things because we've had an extensive discussion, but I wanted to say thank you, Kate, for your report. I was really pleased that you had decided to move over to cohabitate with the Seniors Resource Center. I think this is a really great opportunity to be able to engage the senior community in our business community and other civic opportunities going on. I sit on the board for DRCOG, and senior services are a major focus of our funding operations. I don't think people, they generally think DRCOG does only highways, but we have a strong senior program and fund the Senior Resource Center and other groups that do transportation and other programs. And I hope and I think that would be a good opportunity for you to reach out and get other grants. On another avenue or line of thought, you know, as a small business person, we got some chalk art in front of our business this weekend. Looks great. We put some photos on our social media that were picked up by Local Works and promoting our business. And we had a speaker that talked earlier about what having Local Works in our community sort of does for your business confidence, if you will. And I know Mr. Stites spoke about it, and I got to tell you that we're really happy have them there for the Ridge Fest. You know, as part of the remoteness of the event, they're coming to businesses like ours and saying, how can you you know, run a special, and they'll do some advertising for us and co-market that with us, and that brings people to our business. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that Local Works is an outgrowth of 2020, which has been in our community for the last, you know, 15 plus years. And the investments, you know, part of the resources they have now is a return on the investments that we've made as a city over the years that we've done it. So it's great to see that asset still returning capital that's available for the use in our community. So, you know, with all of that, I hope we can come to a decision. We've had a good discussion about how we can support this going forward. So, more discussion on this, or Mr. Urban, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, one of my recollections about the purpose of the study session is to, you know, go through ideas and get a consensus on where we're going. I'm a little uncomfortable coming up with specific dollar figures in a study session, because that feels like we're allocating money in a study session, and I would ask us to refrain from that. But as it relates to this particular ask, I think that if we can get a clear plan for what the Local Works plan is for that large asset that they have, as well as their strategic plan, that, at least for me, would be put me in a better position to be more comfortable coming up with what we can provide to them in the form of a grant would be. So that, at least for me, is something that I'd like to see, is the plan for the 1.3 million or 1.4 million that they have, as well as the strategic plan. And then just overall, even on the other items for tonight's agenda, I'm not really feeling comfortable allocating certain dollar figures to these asks until we get a real clear picture on where we are overall for the budget. And I know both Chris and Patrick have provided us some basics as it relates to where we are and where we're going to be, but it just feels like the current environment is changing such that until we get down to approving the budget, I don't want to necessarily commit to any particular ask.
Thank you, Ms. Hoppy.
Yeah, I just would like to say that the reason why we do it this way is so that the staff knows how to prepare the budget, and then when it comes time for us to approve the budget, then if you want less in the approved budget, then you can go through the approved budget, but which is how we did it last year, and it worked out really well, so that everybody kind of knew where they stood in the different departments and whatnot, so that they could get the budget prepared. So it's not that we're allocating the money that we're going to spend it today.
Mr. Goff?
Yeah, I'll just add on to that too. Yeah, I mean, we can move forward without a specific consensus this evening if you'd rather, Mr. Urban. It's just, I think we'd like to get a general nod if this is somewhere close, so that we can finalize the proposed budget to bring to you. And obviously you still have several more opportunities before the budget's adopted to make changes. So you don't have to, if you're not comfortable, and I understand that, you don't have to make a specific consensus on the number. And we can we'll work with this amount and put it in the budget if that's what you prefer. And you can make that decision when the budget comes back to you.
Go to Ms. Hulteen and then Ms. Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question. Well, I'll say in general, the scope of this looks good and sounds good to me. And I agree to some extent. I'm a little uncomfortable with the specific amount without understanding generally what we're looking at as the city as a whole. So what's the relative importance of these things if we're looking at other significant cuts, or what that looks like? That having been said, my biggest concern specifically, which I believe Ms. Nosler-Beck and others have touched on, is, if we in our city are setting aside a significant amount of funds for these large events, which Local Works has demonstrated their ability to adapt and pivot to smaller scale, but some of them, just get canceled because you can't do that, like the Criterium. I understand that, if they don't hold them, we don't pay for them, but we're also setting aside those funds as part of the budget as a priority. Does the city have the capacity if at some point in 2021 Local Works says, we still can't hold the Criterium, could Local Works reallocate those funds to support our businesses? Because I think what we've seen time and time again the last couple of months is when we've pivoted and figured out how to support our local businesses, it's a really highest and best use of our city resources. So that's my biggest concern. Can we be flexible around funds that might be negatively impacted next year as far as large gatherings, and could Local Works those and allocate those for local business support?
And Ms. Hoppy.
So then I'm going to ask for a consensus to allow staff to work their budget around the requested amount, knowing that we'll have several other opportunities to make those changes before we approve the budget. Just before I ask for everybody to raise their hand, just for those who this is your first budget season, so you know, we have a couple opportunities for input on the budget, and then we have our first reading on the budget, and then when we have our second reading on the budget before we approve it, that often is where somebody can say, well, I would rather spend $5 on paper clips than $10 on paper clips, and then we start, finding consensus that start, asking for motions to go that way. So I think it's fair that we allow our staff to move forward to do their work, and to try to figure out where the money goes, and then if we want to cut it, then we have that chance.
Mr. Goff?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I agree with some of the comments that were made by council members that we don't know. I don't know personally yet where our budget stands for 2020, let alone 2021. So this is what one agency has requested, and we have 3 more that are going to request tonight. I don't know if we're going to be able to meet all these budget requests until we have the more general fund budget pulled together. So, but again, this is just an outline and a roadmap for what they're requesting. But if we can't balance the general fund budget, we're going to be looking everywhere to make cuts, and these budget requests tonight will be on that list also.
So with that said, I'd like to ask for a consensus to move forward so that staff can start to develop the budget to be presented to us.
Do we have consensus on that? And that will sort of get us through this discussion. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like we have consensus on that. 6, good. Okay. Then we will, Mr. Goff, leave you with that budget, and you've heard the discussion, and we will have an opportunity to talk about this again. Ms. Cook, thanks so much for coming and joining us tonight and having a great presentation, and doing real well on the question and answer too. It's a group that thinks hard and knows what they're talking about. So thank you very much, but we look forward to the work that your group does and having you come back before us again.
Thank you.
So thank you. Okay, we will, our next order of business would be the Wheat Ridge Business District. And I believe we have Mr. Joe DeMott here. Mr. DeMott, thanks for joining us tonight. Nice to have you here.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us. Good to be here. I'm gonna have somebody else is gonna share the screen. I'm not sure if that's coming.
We have it in front of us. We have it in front of us now. So
okay, cool. I'm just gonna kind of walk through it. It's just a short 3 to 4 hour presentation.
Okay. We'll have a water break or some kind of break in between there then.
First of all, I just want to thank all of our board members. On page 2, you'll see some of our board members. We currently have 10 board members. We are comprised of, we always have 2 to 3 members of council or appointees of council. We have 2 council members, and our mayor is a member of our board this year still, along with many professionals from the community and our treasurer from Jefferson County. So we try to, this is my 11th year on the board, and most of these have been here through the 11 years. So we like to say we do have some strong ties. We're out in the community, and the ability to talk to businesses and keep apprised of what's going on is pretty good. I would be remiss to mention we have one vacancy on our board that was filled by Mike Stites, who we miss dearly, and we will miss at our Thursday meetings. Just real quick, we've had the same budget allocation for several years now, and some good some encouraging news this year. Even though with what's going on, we haven't missed a meeting, and we've had requests for grants, which means businesses are they're investing in their business. So that's a good thing to see. We did raise our grant limits last year, actually, but as you'll see, we're still asking for the same amount, but we've raised all of our grant limits by some of them up to 20%. So you can see here that our sign grants and our facade grants, architectural assistance, and everything's up just a little bit. On our next page, we're talking about some of our newer grants, our Facade Plus program, which allows businesses to get up to $35,000. And this is a matching grant. It's not an exact match. They actually, to get the $35,000, they have to spend about $110,000. I think the math works out. And we have added this year a mural grant program, which in pages here to come, you're going to see a few examples. So I'm really just here to answer questions. And if you can just flip through some of these pictures and show your first one here is our part of our mural grant. And this is at Swiss Flower Shop on 44th Avenue. As you go through, we just have some of here's an example of our Facade Plus program. Here's just this was just a sign grant that went a good distance here. Some of these other ones, this is part of our ADA accessibility grants, which allows not only outside but inside ADA improvements, helps out with some of those. We do have some older buildings in Wheat Ridge that need those upgrades. This was a simple facade grant that made a huge difference on 44th Avenue, closer to Harlan area. Some more murals that you'll see at West End 38. Here's a small change on 38th. You guys might have noticed. It's at the Barta House. This was an awesome change. Awesome to see stuff like this. These here were this was one of our first Facade Plus grants. I want to say this might be 2 years ago already at Raphael's on 44th west of Kipling. And again, our Facade Plus, this one's probably 2 years, probably a 2018 grant. But we have everything online, and of course, we're here to answer questions if anybody has any. That's all I have. I appreciate everybody's time.
All right, thank you very much for that presentation, Joe. Let's see, questions from council. Ms. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Demott. I have a question. So you do grants and the matching grants, and the matching part comes from the business? Is that where the
Correct.
other money comes from? Okay.
Yeah, it's a 50% grant up to our amount. Most of them spend a lot more to get the results they're getting. But
Okay, and do you also do loans?
no.
Business?
No.
Okay,
simply grants.
And your grants, then the way that you get the money is through the city, or what other way?
The city does allocate a fixed amount every year to the board, and then the applications come directly to our board through our administration, and we vote on those monthly. And after the project is complete, they have to submit receipts and proof of that the work is done. Generally, we drive by and check it out because it's just in Wheat Ridge, so somebody's always close by. And as long as it's done and it's paid for, their contractors are paid for, there's no liens or anything on there, we reimburse them for their matching.
Okay, and does the Wheat Ridge Business District, does that overlap with what Local Works does for businesses in Wheat Ridge at all?
No, not at all. They do a lot of the loan programs. Ours is just a grant, and it's more of a physical grant. So all of our grants require property owner signatures on there, so the property owners know what's going on, and these are more permanent, what we consider more of a permanent grant that's going to last 7 to 10 years or however long it could be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pardon me, Ms. Hoppy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so I have been on the board of the Wheat Ridge Business District since 2010. It's actually one of my favorite volunteer positions that I do. And, you know, the thing is that there are, it was recognized, you know, a long time ago when the business district started, which Joe can tell you when that is, because I don't know, it was before me.
2003.
2003. So, and it was recognized that our city has a lot of outdated and older brick and mortar, and so this is to help people make investments into their property. But these investments, when we look at them, we want them to really be permanent to the property. So it's not that we're helping them buy something that they, when they move their property, they'll take it with them. When they move their business, they'll take it with them. Or even if, let's say, even if a business does go out of business, the property itself has been updated and improved. And so, you know, these matching grants are, we have the thresholds, which Joe went over in the beginning on that second slide. And we've leveraged, I think, in the packet, it's $234,000 in private investment dollars. So that's above and beyond. So we've given them a grant, but above and beyond what was spent on the grant, that's what more was invested into our community. I think it's important for us, and not only that, but other communities have taken this outline and have implemented it in their communities. So it was really great of us as the city of Wheat Ridge to blaze the pathway on that for those other communities to take that idea and run with it. And so for that reason, I really enjoy supporting this program. And so I just wanted to let everybody know that I think it's important for us to be able to have a vital brick and mortar buildings in our community, and we need those. They were built in the 70s and they look like it.
And one of the things I'll mention is, you know, a lot of the businesses that are in Wheat Ridge are mom and pop and single owner and sort of unique businesses. And they're, you know, the dollars that we invest in those businesses are really a lot of times what makes them viable to be able to open up in our community. And once the business is open, and then then our community, you know, gets behind them and supports them, and we've got an ongoing business, and the people are working here, and we're creating revenue and jobs. So there's a lot of spin-off benefit to this kind of investment. Additional discussion, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a comment that I really appreciate that the business district has decided to fund a few of the mural projects around the city. Murals bring so much vibrancy and character to the neighborhood and the community. And we're missing a little bit of that, I think, in Wheat Ridge. So I'm hoping to see more businesses, even on their own, try to put more murals up. And this changes the atmosphere tremendously. And I just love seeing all the mural and the art. So I'd like to thank them for that.
Additional discussion on this item. They've asked for $90,000, 45 for the Mansion Grants program and 45 for the Facade Plus program. And Mr. Demott, this is the same number that you requested last year, correct? So it's a level funding stream?
Yep, yeah, we've had that amount for, well, we've had the 45,000 for our matching grants for about 9 years in a row now, and the 45,000 additional. This will be our third year for the Facade Plus.
Right. Ms. Dozman?
Do you allocate all of the money annually, or do you carry over a reserve?
We generally hit right at it. There's been times, I'd say, we probably haven't for 3 or 4 years, but we've actually come back for additional grants mid-year, where if we have somebody come in that wants a grant, we need another 10,000 or something, we'll come in and ask council for more. That hasn't been for a long time, but yeah, right now, generally we don't have an excess of funds. We definitely have people asking for grants still.
Any additional discussion on this item? Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Demott, for bringing the Wheat Ridge Business District funding request to us. Good report. Glad for you. Oh, Ms. Hoppy?
I just wanted to make sure that we got a consensus to allow staff to utilize this number to build their budget.
Do we have consensus with that from council? Looks like we have consensus. So thank you, Mr. Demott. We'll put this in the budget. We'll see how it comes out.
Sure.
Thank you. We're going to take about a 10-minute break now, so we'll be back in our seats about 8:30. let's continue our meeting if we can with a report on the Carnation Festival. Sort of missed that this weekend. It was, that's a fun event. I'm sorry it didn't happen, but see what we can do. And Mr. Demont, you're gonna run us through this one also, right?
I'm back again. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I will yield the floor to you then.
All righty.
Oh.
So in your packet, I guess you just have a letter from us that kind of states our ask, for the 2020 festival. We were allocated 100,000, and that's kind of been our average for about the last 3 years. That is about half of what it really costs to put it on. A lot of our money comes from our vendor fees, our sponsors, our ticket sales, and our beer sales, and stuff like that. We're a pretty. It's truly about a $330,000 festival that comes in and out of there. So you fund technically a third to a half of what we do. With this year, it's not a 2-month planning process. We start planning for 2020 all the way back in September of 2019. So unfortunately, we had some expenses that we incurred. We have a lot of contracts that we need to sign a year or more in advance, and some of those had deposits. We did have some sound and some music contracts that we did have to pay some deposits on, and of course our insurance. We still pay our director and officer board insurance, but for the most part, everybody worked with us, and we were able to not incur too many expenses. We are aware of, budget cuts that need to be made. And we're still going to try to make that 100,000 mark. With, if the city gives us 75,000, we should be back whole at 100,000 for next year. One of our concerns is that because so many of these industries involved in festivals, music and sound, and the carnivals, and vendors, and electricity, and fencing, and porta potties, and trash containers, all those have suffered so greatly over this year. We're afraid they're going to have to make up some money next year. So our big concern is rising costs next year. So that's why we're really going to try to tighten our belts too next year to try to make sure that we don't go over too much. And of course, most of our concern, without the Wheat Ridge Police Department and the Parks Departments, we wouldn't even have a festival. So, we wish them well, and we've heard from a lot of them. And although they're busy right now, they did, a lot of them have expressed that they were disappointed as well as we were. Even though it's a lot of work, it is a lot of fun. And, it was a strange year. This was going to be our 51st year, which we were calling Year 51, an ode to Area 51, and we had little aliens all over our paperwork, and then it turned an even weirder year than what we expected. So, again, I'm just here to answer questions. On our board, we have about 13 members right now. We do have members of council, and our city treasurer is also our festival treasurer. So Chris knows the ins and outs. But all of our nonprofits that help us throw the festival and benefit from the festival, we have about 17 nonprofits that, from service clubs to the school clubs to the Active Adult Center, and I couldn't even name them all, but they're out this year too. So we really want to make sure that we have a festival next year, if it's possible. So of course we have still concerns that there might be crowd size restrictions next year. So in the letter we've written, we explain we're asking for 75,000 next year. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. So again, there are things that I'm sure in September, October, I'm going to start getting calls from carnivals and fence companies and stuff like that, seeing if we want to book for next year. You know, of course, we're going to put it off as long as we can, but we're going to have to really ramp up on our meetings and stuff probably by September, probably October, November, when our board will start meeting again to figure out what's going on and really start looking at how next year's going to look. You know, we hope, of course, that we're able to do it, because I think people will really be ready to get out and see their friends and their neighbors and you know, listen to some music and just be together. I mean, just to be with people again is what we're hoping to get. So, and we want to throw a huge party, because that's what we do. So.
Okay. Well, thanks for that report. We'll go to questions from council. Ms. Hoppy.
When you are looking at, so this year without the Carnation Festival, it was approximately $25,000 in expenses or losses due to different deposits and contracts and stuff that you had. With that in mind, when you're looking at that for next year, have you guys had any discussion about putting the clauses in those contracts so that you don't, if there's something like I know that when it's like act of God and it's things like, you know, if there's a rain or a flood, then they still get their deposits for those. But like if there's something where, you know, like the pandemic continues or something like that happens, will you be putting something in your contract so that you don't lose a quarter of your city funded budget next time? Or like, how will you guys be addressing that for safety in the future?
Well, I mean, in every contract in the world from now on will have that clause. It doesn't matter if it's a festival or anything. So I think that on both sides, of course, we're going to watch out for that. And then on the other side too, you know, companies and bands and stuff like that are going to be putting, you know, extended deposits in theirs because of stuff like this. You know, when you deal with festivals you can get festival insurance and stuff like that. So a lot of these larger parts of our festival, our carnival, our circus, stuff like that, they have insurance for stuff like that. We actually were lucky we didn't sign any of those larger contracts this year. I was hesitant for, you know, early on, and it actually worked out that we didn't. A lot of our money had to do with the music this year. So where we've always put that in, I've had a couple of bands say, put it towards next year, you know, don't pay us, put it towards next year. We've had a couple of them that, you know, have called and said, I haven't played all summer and I really need that money. So we do have a contract with them, so we really had no choice. Those are all about 25% deposits on those, but you're talking, you know, some of them we pay $500, some of them we pay, you know, I think the biggest one we pay is like $2,500, $2,250. So, but we had 14 of the 16 contracts signed already. So, you know, it should, I am concerned about next year. Contracts are going to be, they're going to be fun. That's for sure. They're going to be different. Everything is. So,
Mr. Urban, and then Ms. Hoppy.
This question may be for Patrick. Given that we do have quite a bit of CARES Act money left, and many of these expenses for the festival were related to COVID. Is there any way to seek reimbursement for some of those expenses and then apply that to what we might be giving them for next year, or can it be absorbed by the CARES Act money the city received?
Mr. Urban, we can look into that. I don't, just off the top of my head, I don't think any of those would be eligible for reimbursement unless they loosen up the allowances, which they're talking about. You know, they have to be COVID related expenses. Reimbursements for deposits and such, I don't think are covered. You know, we can look into it. But we have allocated, or at least we've sent a spending plan to the county for our full 2.5 million. So we do have it, most of it pretty much allocated towards COVID related expenses for the city, but we could see if there's any possibility if the CARES Act's funding could be used for this. I don't think so though.
Okay. And then a related question for Joe, as far as next year, knowing that regardless if there's a crowd control plan or not, what are some of your thoughts about how to address the COVID issue for the festival next year?
Well, I mean, we've had some discussions. You know, Anderson Park is about 23 acres. So there's a lot of space there. Much of it we don't utilize. A lot of it we leave open for fireworks, viewing and picnics and stuff like that. Some of the new aspects of the new Anderson Park actually enabled us last year to spread the crowd out. You know, so we had 2 stages instead of 1 last year. So we can really spread those out. It's just a matter of planning and measuring and spacing. And, you know, I mean, I know that as this virus goes along, as everybody gets used to social distancing, I think it'll sort of work its way out. People will just stay further away, but we can implement different things. And I'm sure it'll change 50 times before we even have our first meeting. So
great,
specifically, I couldn't say, just event by event by event. My feeling, I'm not saying anything is cemented, but some of the more indoor and crowded events, probably not going to happen. So
thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hoppy?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Hey, Joe, at one point, you had talked about you guys were working on like a rain out plan. I feel like it was a couple of years ago when we were having like a lot of our summer events were getting rained out. Did you guys end up implementing something like that? And you know, is that like a part of your general budget? Is that some of your money from your budget, from your whole budget as a whole, not necessarily what comes from the city? Do you have kind of a rain out plan kind of implemented then into your strategic planning?
You know, we've never had like an event insurance plan, because generally your insurance is 25 to 30% of your total cost, which if we roll all the total costs, we would have to pay so much that it just doesn't make sense. We always have kind of a rain out delay plan, but because we go right till the end of summer, we generally can't push it back a weekend or anything like that. There's a lot of things in the entertainment part of it that if the show doesn't happen, they don't get paid. So it's sort of the same thing where we canceled the festival in May and our entertainment got 25%. We in our contracts for our bands, it's up to the minute. If they don't go on stage, they don't get paid. So there is a small savings, but most everything that happens the week prior. Our porta potties and our fencing and our tents and our stages and everything goes up, and it's pretty much when they hit the park, they want a check right now. So, you know, as far as savings for rain, you know, there's a few things. Obviously, if we don't sell beer, we don't have to pay for the beer. If we don't sell wine, we don't have to pay for the wine. If there isn't a circus show, we don't pay for it. The carnival, the last 2 or 3 years, because they do so well at our festival, they don't even require a deposit anymore from us, and we've gotten to really know them and stuff. So they help us out a lot, and they've never, I'd say, 4 years, they haven't asked for a deposit. So that helps us a lot.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, and I just would like to say that the Carnation Festival is, since I've moved into Wheat Ridge, has been the way we've ended our summer. And it's always been a favorite of ours. The 1 year that there was no carnival was pretty much the saddest year in my family. But I'm really glad that you have that carnival. And well, my pocketbook isn't, because I spend several $100s more while I'm there. But so, you know, I support your request for the $75,000 and hope to see the other counselors support that too.
Is there further discussion on this, on the Carnation Festival request for the $75,000? Do we have consensus to move this forward at this number for the budgeting process? And okay, thank you very much. Joe, thanks a lot.
No.
Oh, you got your hand up too? Okay.
But can I say one thing? I just want to say that our meetings are, you know, even though we're not a government open records board, we're not a secret board either. We meet the second Monday of every month. We meet at Pietro's, and we have pizza. And if anybody wants to come, they're welcome to come. We're always looking for additional board members, or additional input, ideas, fun things, whatever. Get a hold of, you know, anybody on the board. Go to the website, call me, call Leah, call Chris, call anybody, and they'll get you in touch with somebody. And, you know, if you want to do something crazy and fun next summer, give us a call. We appreciate it.
Okay. Joe, thanks a lot. Thanks for bringing us the Carnation Festival update.
See you.
Okay, we're going to go to our, let's see, our fourth item under our second agenda item, and this is Sustainable Wheat Ridge. And I believe we have Kayla Betzold here. Kayla, are you, and Amy Pierre is here, I see. There's Amy.
And Marianne also.
Oh, there's Marianne. Okay, well, and there's Kayla. Okay, so I'm not sure who's given the report, but welcome to all three of you. And it looks like Marianne Schilling is here with the report. So Marianne, I will turn it over to you.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Marianne Schilling, Assistant to the City Manager. I'm here tonight with Kayla Betzold, Sustainability Coordinator here at the City, as well as Amy DiPierre, Co-Chair for Sustainable Wheat Ridge. Kayla, Amy, and Joy Opp, our other co-chair for the committee, they pre-recorded their video. So I'm going to play that for you tonight. And then following the video, Amy, Kayla, and I will all be available for questions.
Okay, thank you.
All right, hold on one moment.
Hi, my name is Joy Opp, co-chair of Sustainable Wheat Ridge. Thank you, Council and Mayor Starker, for having us this evening. Tonight, the agenda is up on the slides. We're going to talk a little bit about our 2020 accomplishments, review our upcoming 2020 projects we still have in the hopper, review our 2021 vision, and go over our 2021 budget. At the beginning of this year, the committee added new volunteer members, and Kayla Betzold was hired as the role as a part-time sustainability coordinator. The Sustainable Neighborhoods program was started in the spring with the training provided by the City of Lakewood. We will be highlighting this program later in the presentation. Because the 50th anniversary of Earth Day was transitioned to a virtually celebrated event, we decided it would be a great opportunity to unveil the new sustainability page on the What's Up Wheat Ridge community engagement platform. The page encouraged residents to drop a pin on a map of Wheat Ridge where they had completed a green action for Earth Day, provided resources for both adults and kids about Earth Day and sustainability related topics and activities, and provided an avenue for people to ask questions about sustainability to be answered by staff. The committee purchased branded Swedish cloths, which are a compostable alternative to paper towels and can be reused over 100 times. I hope you all got one. We attended community events in early 2020 and dispersed these items to Wheat Ridge residents while promoting our programs. We have been consistently delivering sustainability messaging to the community through Connections, Mayor Matters, the city website, What's Up Wheat Ridge, and the city's social media platforms. We were awarded several grants in 2020. The largest grant was awarded through the Candide Foundation for over $11,000 to purchase zero waste event materials and supplies, with the ultimate goal of transitioning the Carnation Festival to zero waste in 2021. The reception of this grant has also established a partnership with Boulder's EcoCycle, a regional expert in zero waste, which has provided guidance, education, and training to staff and committee members to ensure the success of zero waste initiatives in Wheat Ridge. Our long-term plan for these supplies is to create a community checkout system in which neighborhood organizations, local businesses, city departments, and local organizations can complete a zero waste training and utilize the supplies independently to coordinate zero waste events and increase waste diversion in Wheat Ridge. We also applied for and received 2 grants through Xcel Energy to cover the infrastructure costs related to the installation of the electric vehicle charging stations at the Rec Center and City Hall, which were awarded through grant funding from Charge Ahead Colorado in 2019. The committee has been focused on enhancing partnerships with local and regional organizations in 2020, with long-term goal of developing relationships and implementing sustainability programs for our community. We have partnered with Local Works, Movie on the Ridge events this summer to coordinate zero waste initiatives with the grant-funded materials, as well as provide compostable materials to food vendors at the events to accelerate the transition towards zero waste in Wheat Ridge. We also coordinated zero waste initiatives at Performance in the Park this summer in collaboration with the Parks and Rec Department. New in 2020, we have partnered with the Regional Air Quality Council to provide a $150 electric lawnmower rebate to residents interested in recycling their gas-powered mower and transitioning to an electric mower. We are continuing to partnership with Scraps to offer residents drop-off compost service at the Wheat Ridge Rec Center and City Hall. We have covered the cost of membership for the first 2 months for 100 residents and are currently about halfway through these funds. We managed a rain barrel diverter kit giveaway this summer and have given out over 150 rain barrel kits to date. This has been a highly popular giveaway program, and many residents have taken this opportunity to create rain barrels on their property to decrease their summer water use. In 2020, we have continued our partnership with Xcel Energy's Partners in Energy program to promote and subsidize energy audits to decrease overall energy consumption in Wheat Ridge. This program will be ending in 2020, and we will be continuing our partnership with Xcel Energy through the Energy Futures collaboration. We will elaborate on this partnership later in the presentation. This year, we offered fully subsidized Home Energy Squad audits after offering a 50% discount on these audits in 2019. We also worked with Xcel to develop a Wheat Ridge multifamily outreach plan and intend to send mailers to property managers and owners to educate them about the free multifamily audits available. We worked with Xcel this year to send direct mailers to Wheat Ridge businesses to advertise free commercial audits currently available until the end of the year. We recognize that businesses may be strapped for funds right now, and we intend to send another round of mailers to the business community, highlighting the free audits as well as the free direct installation items such as LED bulbs and programmable thermostats. These businesses can take advantage of through these audits. We have successfully set up a tool through Energy Star to monitor energy use for city buildings, and we will continue to develop our plans for municipal buildings in 2020 in collaboration with other city staff. Kayla?
We wanted to take a minute to highlight the new Sustainable Neighborhoods program in Wheat Ridge. This program was started by the city of Lakewood and has expanded to the cities of Denver and Fort Collins, with Wheat Ridge becoming the 4th municipality in the Sustainable Neighborhoods Network. The program is intended to encourage direct citizen action towards sustainability in 5 categories: energy, air, water, land, and people, which match the topic areas outlined in the Sustainable Wheat Ridge Action Plan. This program also addresses the Wheat Ridge 2035 Vision Topic 3 Goal 2, which is facilitating neighbor-to-neighbor relations. The program was implemented in spring 2020 with a citywide marketing campaign to promote the program. We developed a Wheat Ridge page on the network's website and hosted a virtual open house event in late July. The open house was well attended, and there are various neighborhoods in the process of completing an application. The application deadline is Monday, August 31st, 2020, and we will have 2 Wheat Ridge neighborhoods enrolled in the program by late September 2020. This program is beneficial to our city as it creates a framework for neighbors to develop an action plan to enhance the long-term character, livability, and sustainability of their neighborhood, leading to an overall increase in neighborhood connections within our city. Through the program, neighbors work together to create and manage sustainability projects, such as LED bulb installations and neighborhood cleanups, and city staff provides resources and guidance to assist neighbors in accomplishing their project goals. There are many projects that neighbors can complete with social distancing guidelines in place, and the program has allowed other cities in the network to continue making progress towards sustainability goals and resident cohesion despite the pandemic. The program also serves as a tool for engagement and resident interest in other city-led neighborhood programs. Throughout the implementation process, I have been working with the senior neighborhood planner to align on communication and outreach strategies to ensure that we're working congruently with other city-led neighborhood initiatives, ultimately resulting in the success of both programs. The Sustainable Neighborhoods program is resident-led, which differentiates it from other city programs and enables individuals to creatively work together to develop strategies to solve problems in their neighborhoods. By implementing a program with this framework, we are allowing our residents to lead one another, not only within the Sustainable Neighborhoods program, but in making positive change within our city. The program inherently creates a structure for individuals to become engaged and active within our city government, local organizations, businesses, and with other residents, which can result in a network of leaders within our community. We're very excited to enroll our first 2 neighborhoods in the program, and we're looking forward to sharing with you the projects they create.
Thank you, Kayla and Joy. My name is Amy DePierre, the other co-chair for Sustainable Wheat Ridge. I'll share with you what we're up to for the remainder of this year, and then I'll turn it over to Kayla to close out our vision for 2021. Sustainable Wheat Ridge has numerous projects we are currently managing and planning to implement. In regards to energy efficiency, we will continue to offer the fully subsidized residential audits, as well as work with the new facilities manager to coordinate free commercial building audits for city buildings. We will distribute the remaining Xcel Energy Conservation Kits to residents through social media advertising and collaborations with local entities. As a next step for cities that wish to engage with Xcel on energy goals, we intend to enter Xcel's Energy Futures Collaboration Program, as Joy mentioned earlier. This program focuses on longer-term energy goals and provides a direct relationship with Xcel Energy to progress towards these goals. We are continuing our partnership with Scraps for the residential compost drop-off service currently managed at the Wheat Ridge Recreation Center and City Hall. We are also working with Scraps to coordinate a yard waste drop-off event later this fall to give residents a place to dispose of organic materials, as this is currently a service gap in Jefferson County. As we increase participation in the residential drop-off program, we will scale our work with Scraps to implement a residential compost pickup program to make the service more convenient and accessible for our community. We now have ample zero waste event supplies, so we're working with city departments and local organizations to implement zero waste initiatives at internal and external Wheat Ridge events. Due to COVID-related event cancellations, we were able to transfer committee funds from the events themselves toward purchasing compostable materials to have these available for vendors at these types of events. Lastly, the committee has created an educational household waste audit that is available on the sustainability page of the city website. Residents can use this framework to complete an audit of their household waste. The goal of this project is to increase residents' awareness of their typical weekly waste and inform decision-making in their future. It also makes for a great family learning activity. Next, we are partnering with Resource Central to implement the very popular Garden in a Box program in Wheat Ridge for spring and summer 2021. This program, subsidized by the committee, will provide residents with a $25 discount on xeric plant purchases through Resource Central, which will ultimately lead to a reduction in summer water usage in the city. For the green building topic area of the action plan, we've currently focused on urban agriculture, as agriculture is an important aspect of Wheat Ridge's history and a staple in our community today. The committee has partnered with Fresh Food Connect to add visibility of Wheat Ridge produce drop-off locations on their app. This partnership will allow residents and regional contacts the ability to access fresh and local produce at their convenience, while also reducing the waste of unused food. In the transportation sector, we will be implementing a small business bike rack program, which will consist of an application, review process, and installation of bike racks to businesses in our community that wish to increase the accessibility and convenience of alternate and active transportation for their employees. As we mentioned earlier, we are onboarding 2 neighborhoods into the Sustainable Neighborhoods program in 2020. We will work with these neighborhoods to develop a timeline, framework, and outreach plan for their proposed sustainability projects and assist them in accomplishing their neighborhood sustainability goals. Phew, a lot going on. I'll pass it back to Kayla now to close us out today. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy and Joy, for recapping our 2020 accomplishments and kind of providing some framework for our future projects for 2020. And I will now move it into speaking about our 2021 vision. So we have, touched on our 2020 accomplishments and future projects, and outlining these projects is really intended to frame the conversation about our future. The Sustainable Wheat Ridge Committee has had 2 years of implementation funded by council and has achieved a high level of success through partnerships, programs, and engagement. Our vision for 2021 is to enhance the sustainability in Wheat Ridge through strategic program offerings, an expansion of our current outreach demographic, and a focus on projects that will yield long-term results. We would like to continue to expand the Sustainable Neighborhoods program to 4 Wheat Ridge neighborhoods in 2021, as this program has numerous benefits for our city that not only encompass all of the sustainability topic areas, but drive action towards the 2035 vision, enhance community resiliency, and build well-rounded Wheat Ridge leaders. Next, we're focusing on becoming an educated, analytical, and data-driven city by proposing funding for a citywide greenhouse gas inventory. By completing this kind of analysis, the city will have baseline measurements for carbon emissions from all major sectors: electricity, buildings, transportation, and waste. The inventory will result in an accurate calculation of aggregate emissions data, and this data will be utilized to create baseline metrics and inform future climate and sustainability goals. As cities in the region move towards collaborative climate goals, Wheat Ridge can join the conversation by accessing a reliable source of current baseline metrics. Another major focus for 2021 is on the Wheat Ridge business community. We realize that current circumstances have put a burden on businesses to continue their operations, and the committee realizes an opportunity to support local businesses while also furthering sustainability goals. Through the implementation of a sustainable business grant program, we will provide matching funds to Wheat Ridge businesses that are interested in implementing strategies to lower costs, become more environmentally friendly, and develop sustainable strategies for their future. This program would consist of an application, review process, and collaboration with other city departments. We are also looking to continue the promotion of active transportation in Wheat Ridge in 2021. We see a lot of opportunities for improved trail signage, promoting neighborhood-friendly streets, increasing bicycle ridership, and educational programs about rider safety. We are currently having conversations with other city departments about potential programs and ensuring that these programs meet city goals and resident needs. As we have mentioned, we were awarded about $12,000 from the Candide Foundation for zero waste event supplies in spring 2020. We had hoped to transition the Carnation Festival to zero waste this year, but we'll continue the momentum towards that goal in 2021. To accomplish this effort, allocating funding towards compostable event supplies to supplement vendors is essential. 2021 would be the first year the Carnation Festival is a zero waste event, and we hope to develop a positive working relationship with the vendors by providing education and guidance about compostable materials, as well as supplementing their supplies if need be, to ensure the zero waste event is successful. Our quarterly engagement events will continue in 2021, and we hope to bolster the content, outreach, and engagement as soon as in-person engagement is safe. We are hoping to educate residents about a variety of sustainability topics, such as rain barrels, composting, and energy efficiency. Continuing our focus on Wheat Ridge businesses in 2021, we would like to work towards a green business program, with framework provided through the Colorado Green Business Network, as well as a Green Business Award. As we implement the business grant program, these efforts can align and enhance the goals of each other, leading to a long-term interest and buy-in from the business community. Working with businesses on multiple fronts in 2021 will ensure that we are effectively communicating the positive impacts of sustainability-related projects and aligning with the business community's needs. As we continue to partner with the compost company Scraps, we would also like to expand our waste reduction efforts in 2021 by implementing electronic recycling and household hazardous waste recycling events for our residents. These events would be managed in collaboration with the city-funded Rooney Road Recycling Center, and the committee would partially subsidize the cost for residents. By creating local events for residents to access avenues for unusual waste disposal, we are setting a precedent for waste reduction in our city and creating an educational opportunity for residents to learn about regional waste collection sites. To solidify and bolster the city of Wheat Ridge in its sustainability efforts, we would like to become a member of the Local Governments for Sustainability Collaboration. This organization is a network of more than 1,700 local and regional governments committed to sustainability and working together to share information and drive local action. Becoming a member of this organization will provide us with the tools to enhance our progress towards sustainability goals outlined in the action plan. Lastly, since the Earth Day event this year was transitioned to a virtual event through our unveiling of a sustainability page on What's Up Wheat Ridge, we would like to engage the community in an event for Earth Day 2021. The funds requested would supplement the supplies necessary to manage this event. As a visual guide, we have prepared our proposed budget for 2021. I have discussed each line item on this budget, and our total request for 2021 is $25,500, which is the same as our request for 2020. We hope to continue our successes with the approval of this request. I wanted to thank you for taking time to allow us to present tonight. Again, my name is Kayla Betzold, and I am the Sustainability Coordinator with the City of Wheat Ridge. And on behalf of the Sustainable Wheat Ridge Committee, we want to thank you for your continued support of our committee and of sustainability efforts in Wheat Ridge. We hope to continue to work with city staff and council to broaden our sustainability programming in the future. And again, thank you for your time tonight. And now Amy and I are live for any questions that you may have.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kayla, Amy, and Joy. for a great presentation and a great group of work from a lot of volunteers in our community. So great to have you there. So are we ready for questions, Mary Ann? Do we have anything more in the presentation? Are we ready for questions?
I think we're ready.
We're ready for questions. Okay, well, council, put up those hands and let's see what we can challenge these presenters with. Great job tonight. Ms. Hulteen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just thank you, everyone. It's been a long night. I'm starting to fade a little bit, so I want to be the first to speak before I lose any. That was an amazing presentation. You both with staff and the volunteers are just shaping our city in really positive ways, and I just want to thank everyone. I know that there's a lot of volunteer hours that go into that. We're really lucky to have Kayla. Kayla, it's hard to believe you're only half-time. That looked like a team of 9 people doing that work. So I just really want to thank you for not just making an impact on an issue that's really important to me, but being good stewards of all our city's resources. So some kudos to you guys. And I have my rain barrel going that was inspired by your giveaway, and I know my next door neighbors do too. So you're reaching a lot of backyards, a lot of front yards, and the scope of what you guys are tackling is just amazing. So I just have nothing but gratitude and kudos, and can't wait to see what's ahead. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We can only hope we get a few drops of rain someday. Ms. Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I do hope we get some rain for our rain barrels. I just want to say thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you so much for all of your work. The Sustainability Committee was not funded for quite a while, and they did some big mighty lifts, and with just a little bit of funding, those mighty lifts have become massive. And so I really greatly appreciate all of the work, and please, Kayla and Amy, tell all your volunteers thank you very much for all of their work. I also want to say I really appreciate you having an actual budget to show us for your ask, and I'll be supporting your ask, and I hope the other council members will support me in that.
Thank you. Additional discussion on this item. Mr. Urban, and then Ms. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I also want to say I appreciate the work that the committee has done on such a lean budget, and also the efforts that you put forth in encouraging the volunteer efforts of the committee. I really appreciate that. In the outcomes and the ways in which you've listed the achievements so far, one thing that I would like to see is how do those achievements correlate to the action plan specifically? In the action plan, I appreciated the way it was laid out, that you had the way that the timeline, the cost estimate, and the environmental benefit was laid out, and may not necessarily be something you can do right away, but in future updates, I'd like to see sort of a matrix to say this is the progress we've made on goal A, 1A, 1A, 2, however it's laid out, so that we can kind of see where you are on the action plan. I see some of them enlisted in this report, but I don't have them really tied to that. So that's something I'd like to see moving forward. And then specifically, you mentioned the Resource Central Garden in a Box, but I didn't see that listed in the budget. So what is the plan for the Garden in the Box for 2021?
Thank you, council member, and thank you for the feedback. I made a note of that, and we will definitely focus on the metrics in the action plan and kind of relate our updates and our future budget requests to the action plan. As far as Garden in a Box, so Garden in a Box will be used with 2020 funds, but we haven't finalized the contract yet, and it will be available for residents in spring and summer 2021. So it is using 2020 funding, but will be available in 2021.
And so does that provide like a $25 discount per box, or how is that deal structured?
Yep, exactly. It's $25 discount for xeric plant purchases made through Resource Central. And because we partner with them, all of our residents who participate in the program have access to
they're really the experts in xeric plants in this region. So they have access to their team over at Resource Central, any sort of customer service related questions with them. And then also all of the boxes are pre-made on their website. So they can just kind of go and choose, plug and play with the rebate.
Okay. When I played around with their website, one thing that I didn't see was that they were calculating a sales tax when you put on the Wheat Ridge dress. So I'm curious as to whether or not they do charge sales tax on those boxes, or if it's somehow tax free, or if I don't know if that's part of the contract, but I'd like to see us at least charging sales tax. And I understand that they may be the experts on xeriscaping, but maybe in the future we could look at a way to partner with Local Works and some of our local nurseries to do a similar program. I understand they've got the website and the whole online ordering, and it's a slick process, but if we could somehow bring that home and do it here more locally, because I do believe many of our local nurseries are have pretty good experts on xeriscaping as well. Maybe not sort of streamlined the way Resource Central has, but if we could at least look at the possibilities for next year or the year after, bringing that more closer to home, I'd appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you for the feedback. I think with this program, we typically, I think with our programs, tend to partner with organizations that are already up and running just because of capacity, but that's a great idea. And I would absolutely love to transition it more to, you know, support Wheat Ridge nurseries in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Additional discussion. Ms. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Garden in a Box has been around for quite a while, and it's been in quite a few cities. And so they kind of operate like by volume. And usually it is kind of xeric plants. So it'd be up to whether the nurseries here would want to do that at a discounted rate. Also, I'm very interested in the greenhouse gas inventory and also the urban ag and the Earth Day event. I do not see anything on here regarding trees. Trees play everything into what's sustainable for us, for air, carbon dioxide. The more trees we have, the better. I just read in the paper Sunday, Longmont has 22,000 trees. That's huge, and they're old trees. So having some type of a tree sale where people could plant trees like other cities do, Arvada, Lakewood, Denver, you know, would be something that I would be very interested in, and they would be at a discounted price, not big, huge trees or anything, but that is also, there's nothing more sustainable than simple trees. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you for the feedback. So tree planting is actually a very popular program with sustainable neighborhoods. So I'd really love to see one of our sustainable neighborhoods take on that project in the future, but thank you for the feedback.
Thank you. Additional discussion. Wow, it's a great presentation. Kayla and Amy and Joy and Marianne, thank you for bringing this. We have a request for $25,500 in 2021. That's the same as they had in 2020's adopted budget. Do we have consensus on council to use this number to go into our budget for staff, and we'll see how it comes out in the wash. So looks like we do. Thank you very much. Great presentation and a huge amount of work. I got to tell you that I'm really impressed that just for having this going over the last 2 or 3 years, we've got a huge, beautiful report, and we've got action happening on that report, and we've got citizens engaged. And, you know, if we get some rain, we'll have some rainwater to put in our gardens, you know, which sorely need them, I'll tell you. But thank you very much for bringing this to us. That's great.
Thank you. And thank you all for taking time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Okay, well, with that,
did we lose the mayor?
Uh-oh. Hold on 1 second.
With that, boom.
Free for all.
I'm so sorry. I think everybody jumped on the list of panelists.
Okay, Mayor, please come back, Mayor.
He's talking. Mayor,
Mayor's back, but his microphone is off.
All right. Am I live? Am I live now?
Yeah.
Mayor, I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, well, we weren't, I guess I got ahead of myself here. Some key on my keyboard got hit. So anyway, we got through item number 2. Not sure where I was, but we will now go to agenda item number 3. This is our Homeless Navigator IGA. So I believe Mary Ann Schilling is going to provide this update for us. Mary Ann?
She is, and I'll just preface it by saying that we could probably get through this fairly quickly. It looks like everybody's really tired tonight. It's getting late, but we did discuss this in some detail at the homelessness study session that we had a few weeks ago. So this is just kind of an update to get final consensus to bring this forward next Monday. Mary Ann?
Okay.
All right, so yes, I'm here tonight to discuss the Homeless Navigator IGA between Wheat Ridge, Golden, and Edgewater. This topic was most recently discussed July 20th when the homelessness update was provided by myself, Jefferson County staff, and our police department. And so I'm just going to give a really brief overview of the IGA tonight. So as you recall, the City Council approved a halftime homeless navigator, and that was in the Crime Prevention Fund as part of the 2020 adopted budget. This was part of a regional effort throughout Jefferson County to address the rise of individuals experiencing homelessness. So as we discussed before, this position has been difficult to fill. And then when the pandemic happened, the recruitment process was frozen entirely. But fortunately, it did allow us time to reevaluate our hiring strategy. So during this time, City spoke with Golden and Edgewater, who are also having some difficulty in fulfilling their homeless navigation services. So since then, 3 cities have worked together to develop this IGA, which would allow the cities to either hire or contract out one full-time homeless navigator to share amongst the 3 cities. This position would be managed by the City of Wheat Ridge, and then Golden and Edgewater would allocate the financial and staff resources to facilitate the work of the navigator. And the split of the financial support will be divided by city population, where the City of Wheat Ridge would cover about 56%. Golden would be about 35%, and then Edgewater would be 9%. So to move forward with this process, to move forward with the IGA, the budgeted halftime homeless navigator position would need to become a full-time position, which would increase the total head count for the city by 0.5. And then additionally, the position would be taken out of the Crime Prevention Fund in the police department, and it would be placed into the city manager's office. As you may remember from the July meeting, this would allow the homeless navigator to access the county's homeless management information system, which is inaccessible by police departments. So tonight we're asking for consensus from the council to move forward with the homeless navigation IGA between Wheat Ridge, Golden, and Edgewater as a resolution to hire or contract out one full-time navigator position. So at this time, available for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for a concise report. Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate how the costs are broken up for this initial IGA. Moving forward, I'd like us to at least consider or be able to think about as we go forward the homeless population within each municipality and how that shakes out, as opposed to right now we're looking at the total population, and I can see a situation where one municipality's homeless population is at a greater extent than the way it's broken out here, and we're only going to be able to track that if we know where each homeless person is coming from. And so as the navigator is going about doing their job, trying to figure out a way to pinpoint where that person is coming from and being able to sort of indicate either the zip code that they're in or the cross streets that they're coming from, so that we have a clear idea of where the specific need is coming from, and we can use that for future purposes. And it makes sense right now as it relates to the percentages that's an easy way to break it down, but in future years I'd like us to at least consider what that breakout is.
We discussed that with the other 2 cities, and I think they agree that in the future it might make sense based on actual impact on the community.
Yeah, this is a place to start, and I think in the IGA it says that we'll evaluate in about a year to see if anything needs to change. So I think this is a great place to start, and then we'll see if we need to update from there.
And then the other item I'd like to consider is within the operation plan, how do we go about serving individuals within the municipality that they find themselves in, as opposed to creating a situation where City Hall or some other location within Wheat Ridge becomes a magnet of some sort to dealing with issues that occur within Golden and Edgewater, and understanding that it's difficult many times for persons experiencing homelessness to be able to travel to, Wheat Ridge to get help. That we want to make sure we either have a location within those municipalities to help those individuals, or figure out a way to sort of meet them where they're at.
That's the intent, is if the navigation program is for these folks to meet them where they're at.
Yeah, and I'll also just add, it's really the goal of the navigation program in general is for the navigators to be able to coordinate together and be able to work with each other to kind of follow people along the process as they may move along.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional discussion on this item. Ms. Hobby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask for consensus to bring forward the IGA for one full-time homeless navigator.
Okay, we have consensus on that to bring this forward to council. Thank you very much, Mr. Goff and Ms. Schilling, for bringing this to us, and a good report and a good, seems like a pretty consistent and fair IGA. So I've got to tell you that this is that this issue is the one that I get most contact with from our citizens, and I'm glad that we are being proactive about addressing this, and I hope that we are able to make some good inroads in this. So thank you very much for bringing this forward. That concludes item number 3. On number 4 is our staff reports. I'll go to Mr. Goff.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. I will go then to elected officials reports. If you have a report that you would like to give, please raise your hand. Reports going once, reports going twice. Okay, not too many reports tonight, but a very productive meeting. I want to thank everyone that joined us tonight. Thank you to our treasurer, Mr. Miller, for a good update on our investment strategy. Thank you to Kate Cook at Local Works for a very detailed and lengthy discussion on Local Works and the great work that they're doing. Thanks to Joe DeMott for an update on the Wheat Ridge Business District and the Carnation Festival. Hope we are able to see those in real life. Thanks again to Kayla, Amy, Joy, and Mary Ann for the Sustainable Wheat Ridge and a great presentation there. And to Ms. Schilling for bringing us the Navigator program. I have nothing further tonight. It's been a long and productive meeting. We will meet again next week on the 24th of August at 7 o'clock in virtual format for our city council meeting, and then we will be off for 2 weeks. The 31st is the 5th Monday, and the 7th of September is on us already for Labor Day. So we will have another meeting, and then won't see everyone for a while. So thank you all for being here. That concludes our meeting, and we will adjourn.